Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to this new episode of Sudan in Focus weekly news magazine, which focuses on Sudan news and events, aims to give the Sudan TV audience a broad and first-hand information about what is going on in Sudan. So let's go.
President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council (TSC), Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, received a phone call on Friday from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, in which he stressed Turkey's keenness on the unity and stability of Sudan, renewing Turkey's support for the Sudanese people with all capabilities. President Erdogan expressed the continuation of humanitarian aid provided by Turkey, noting the resumption of Turkish Airlines operations shortly, underscoring his country's readiness to make every effort to strengthen diplomatic relations between the two countries, stressing the importance of cooperation in the fields of agriculture and mining. President Erdogan expressed his country's readiness to mediate between Sudan and the United Arab Emirates, or UAE, to establish security and peace in Sudan. President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council (TSC), Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, said in a tweet on the X platform during a phone call with His Excellency Turkish President Erdogan, "We discussed the efforts made to develop bilateral relations and the efforts of Sister Turkey to establish peace in the region. I thanked him for Turkey's supportive stances towards the Sudanese government and people." President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council (TSC), Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, met on Wednesday with the UK Special Representative to Sudan, Richard Crowder, Ambassador Anas Al-Taib Al-Jailani, Director of the International Cooperation Directorate at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, said in a press statement that the meeting was transparent and discussed the distinguished relations between Sudan and Britain, indicating that the TSC President stressed the strength of these relations and the importance of consolidating and developing them to serve the interests of the two peoples. The Supreme Committee for the Currency Issuance and Replacement held a meeting on Thursday, headed by its chairman, member of the Transitional Sovereignty Council (TSC), Lieutenant General Engineer Ibrahim Jabir. The committee reviewed the reports of the technical committees for the currency replacement process, where it was reassured about the movement of funds in the states targeted by the currency replacement process, the status of deposits and withdrawals in banks, and the interaction of citizens and their great response to the currency replacement process. The Minister of Culture and Information, the official spokesman for the government, Khalid Al-Aisir, explained in a press statement that the meeting reviewed the reports of the technical and security committees received from the states targeted by the currency replacement process, demonstrating that some quantities of counterfeit currency were seized in a number of areas. The Minister of Information stated that the security committees are working with high efficiency in monitoring the movement of funds, calling on citizens to take precautions and be careful against trading in counterfeit currencies, stressing the readiness of the security and intelligence services to monitor this process properly. The Attorney General of the Republic of Sudan, Al-Fatih Mohammed Isa, Taifour has affirmed Sudan's commitment to achieving accountability and combating impunity, pointing to the investigations that have made great progress within the framework of the National Committee for the Investigation of Crimes and Violations of National Law and International Humanitarian Law, where arrest warrants were issued and the General Secretariat of Interpol was addressed to issue red notices to prosecute the accused in the crimes and atrocities that occurred since April 15, 2023, mainly in Darfur. This came during his meeting on Wednesday, December 11, with prosecutor of the International Criminal Court (ICC), Mr. Karim Ahmed Khan, at the court's headquarters in The Hague. Sudan's ambassador to Ethiopia, Azin Ibrahim Hussein, presented his credentials to Under-Secretary General of the United Nations Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa (UNECA), Mr. Clever Gatet, as Sudan's delegate to the Commission. After presenting his credentials, Ambassador Azin discussed with Mr. Gatet the support that UNECA can extend to Sudan, especially in the reconstruction and rehabilitation phase in Sudan and the domains of capacity building and technical support. Minister of Culture and Information Khalid Al-Aisif discussed on Thursday with UK Special Envoy to Sudan Richard Crowder the developments in Sudan in light of the repercussions of the current war and the possibility of finding ways to halt the war and end the suffering of the Sudanese. The Minister of Culture and Information said that he touched on with British envoy the motivating aspects to enhance bilateral relations between the two countries in a way that serve the point or the joint interests of their peoples. Al-Aisir expressed his appreciation for Richard Crowder's visit to Sudan, noting the importance of continuing such efforts to open a new page in Sudan-Britain relations built on clear foundations.
Dear viewers, good evening. Welcome to this interview on the role of Samaritans pairs in Sudan. It is my pleasure to welcome Shannon Hamilton, the head of delegation, and Darren Harder, the country director. Thank you for joining us in Sudan in general and in Sudan National TV in particular. Let me start with Shannon. We would like to give a profile of the organization, mission, vision, and scope of work.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's such a pleasure to be in Sudan, but also to be here with you tonight. Samaritan's Purse is very grateful to be able to bring in our team and our delegation. Samaritan's Purse has a long-standing history of humanitarian aid and disaster relief work in Sudan, but also really around the world. Our mission is that we respond to people in need, whether that's a conflict, a disaster, an infectious disease outbreak, anywhere there are people that are suffering, we're going to respond to that need and offer aid to reduce suffering, to save lives in the name of God. And we come with love and compassion to offer aid wherever that is. So we have health programming and disaster relief programming all over the world. We have a long history of responding to areas where there's medical need, where there's refugees and IDPs. We're doing that in 8 countries across Africa right now at this time. And so we're very pleased to be able to bring that history and that expertise of disaster relief to the people of Sudan at this time.
Harin, how long you have been here in Sudan, the organization?
So first off, thank you for having us. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. As an organization, we've been working in Sudan for close to 30 years, or just over 30 years. I think 1993 was the start of our programming in the country. Personally, I've been in Sudan for just over 4 years. I arrived in August of 2020.
Yeah. Have you only worked here in an eastern state, or you may have any other activities across the country?
Well, currently we're working in Port Sudan and in Kassala State. We have had programming in Khartoum and other regions. Darren has been the country director, so he can speak to that the best. But overall, I would just say, we are committed anywhere we see an opportunity, that there is a need that we can meet. We're always willing to go there if the access and things can be possible. We're going to go wherever we see a need.
Now you are here in the eastern state, and I think you have some medical activities here in Port Sudan and outside the Port Sudan.
Yeah.
So why you focus on an eastern region?
So I think our relationship in the East is quite a long history. We started programming that I'm aware of in 1993. More recently, we had a program that started in 2006 here in Eastern Sudan in Hamash Kareb in Kassala State. When we came back to Sudan in 2020, we started a COVID program in Khartoum, working with the Ministry of Health, providing training on protocols and providing support to hospitals inside Khartoum. At the same time, we were invited again to return to Hamash Kareb in Kassala State and pick up programming that we had stopped almost a decade before. And so we started with a health program in Hamash Kareb, rehabilitating a facility there, and then we've expanded our programming in that location into Telkuk, and we've grown from just being a health program to doing clean water, supporting with not just the health facility but neighboring communities. We were also doing some food security work. But health has been the primary focus. So it's like the health programming is like the umbrella that everything else feeds under. So healthy families, healthy communities, and what programming do we need to include into that to ensure the health of the communities that we're working in. Since the conflict broke out in last year, so just over 18 months ago, we expanded our programming into the Red Sea State and into Port Sudan. Currently, we're working with the Ministry of Health. We have a mobile medical team that visits the gathering sites of the IDPs in the city. We added on to that a water program as well, so WASH, providing clean drinking water to those that are in the gathering sites, and more recently we've added on a program that responds to the Arbat dam that burst earlier this year during flooding. So we have a program going on there, and in Kassala as well. We've expanded our work to address the IDP crisis. So we work in gathering sites inside Kassala City. More recently, with the increased violence in Jazeera State and the influx of IDPs into Gedaref, into Kassala, into Red Sea State, we have been responding with some food support in New Halfa, in Kassala, and exploring also in Hamash Kareb how we can support new arrivals into that city or into that town as well.
You have mentioned Hamush Kareb many times, and you said you have primary health care center in Hamush Kareb.
Yes.
Is it the only one across Sudan? And why you focus on Hamush Kareb? What is special about Hamush Kareb?
So Hamush Kareb currently is the only health facility that we are supporting. This program that we're starting shortly in Gedaref will be the second one that we're running. As I said earlier, Samaritan's Purse has a long history with the leadership in Hamush Kareb, and it has been an area that the leadership in the organization has a desire to work in and to support. Personally, if I look at Hamush Kareb, it's a beautiful place, and every time I drive into it, I'm amazed with the geography, with the location. It's also a hard place, and a remote place, and a place that certainly needs the support that as an organization we're bringing there. So I think we have a strong relationship with the leadership in the community, and it's a place that as an organization we're fond of, and personally I've grown quite fond of the community and the people there as well.
So Yaya, you would like to say something?
As well, we always think it's so important to coordinate with the local Ministry of Health, the local leaders, and as we've done that over the years, it's an area that the Ministry of Health has requested our support. There was no functional health facility in Hamush Kareb, and there was a lot of need there, and so we always want to go to those areas of greatest need, and of course in collaboration with the Sudanese people know best what the Sudanese people need, and so as we heard that request from them as that being a place of need, we have really focused and committed to staying there for the long term. We were there many years ago, and we're not going to abandon that area that, as Darren said, we really have developed a special relationship with. And so there is no other functional health facility in Hamush Kareb, and so we want to make sure that people have access to those most basic aspects of healthcare.
So in this context, cooperation, how do the organization cooperate with the government in general, and then with the local authorities, especially to ensure the delivery of aid?
I think that collaboration is really the key to successful aid work. We have to build trust with each other. We have to continually have bilateral conversations. We have to understand the framework that the Sudanese people and the government organizations have designed to meet the needs in this context. And so it's really always a focus for us as a team, our leadership and organization, that we're continually building relationship and continually having conversation to understand your needs and your context, and that we're responding to the gaps that are identified. I'm a health specialist, and especially coming in to healthcare, it's very important that we don't come in and recreate or duplicate or create parallel systems. We want to understand the gaps that have been identified locally and support and build capacity into filling those. So I think that coordination and relationship building is really the most important piece to our success as an organization.
Harin, what do you think, not only about the cooperation in health care services or facilities, but in all fields?
Yeah, and I would say that our government partners are our strongest partners, and as the country director leading the programming here, these are relationships that I value. Ministry of Health, I would say, is our strongest partner. The work that we're doing here in Port Sudan, so working with the state Ministry of Health, also relationship with the federal Ministry of Health. The work that we're doing in castle estate as well, and the relationships there that we have with the Ministry of Health. But it's not just the Ministry of Health. There's when we're doing our WASH program, we're partnering and coordinating with ministries that are in charge of those areas of work that we're doing as well. With our food security, we're considering the agricultural departments and the government departments that would oversee that work. You also have the Humanitarian Aid Commission, which is the body that kind of governs and oversees the work that we're doing. And so if you don't have relationships with those organizations, it's really difficult to work. But not only is it difficult to work, you don't achieve the impact that you would like to have because you're operating in isolation. And we're not here to only represent Samaritan's Purse. When we leave, we want to leave something behind, whether it be a healthier community, whether it be added capacity, added skills. And so when we look at this field hospital that we're bringing in, we have a team of, is it 28?
28.
28, yeah.
Professionals that have come with it, doctors, surgeons, anesthesiologists, pharmacists, sorry, that's a word that I stumble over. And yes, they will work, but they will also work alongside Sudanese professionals. And so there will be this reciprocal sharing of knowledge and information with the goal that not only are we providing health care, we're leaving the providers of health care in a better position when our programming ends. So it's not just the resources you bring, it's the skills and the capacity that you bring with it. And when you're working with government and with your government partners, and you're able to identify needs and respond as well. And my experience, although it's brief in Sudan, is that relationship is incredibly important. And without it, our programming won't be nearly as effective as it would be if we had relationship.
Yeah. On the other side, what difficulties and challenges did the organization experience, and how have you overcome these challenges?
I think in any relationship,
in
any relationship, whether it be a working relationship, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a marriage, there's challenges. There's always challenges. And what's important is not letting the challenges define the relationship. And a relationship that's worth it is a relationship where it's worth figuring out what the challenges are, how to overcome those challenges, how to work together, but also how to be stronger afterwards. And so, yeah, we can look back. We can look back at our work here. We can see from our side what we would have seen as impediments to our work. Struggles with gaining access to parts of the country. But we've also seen that as we've built relationship and as our work has grown here in Eastern Sudan, we've been able to address those challenges. And so something that was a challenge yesterday isn't necessarily a challenge today. And that's I would say common in general with relationships.
I think the challenges that we face in providing humanitarian aid are many of the same challenges that are being faced by the Sudanese people. The situation that you are in is challenging. The need is tremendous, right? There are many people who have had to move multiple times, and the IDPs have had to move from one location to another. The system is overwhelmed as refugees and IDPs pour into an area. And so the big challenge really partially is just that the need is so great. And so sometimes I think as we come in and we try to help, it often seems like you almost can't do enough. But that's why we really are committed, and we have brought in this team of 28 disaster relief specialists who have been trained to respond in the hardest situations and to meet a need that is very great, as well as Darren said, to build capacity so that the people will be more resilient and more prepared to meet those needs when we're gone. And so I think just continuing to work together to meet those challenges is very important.
28 years, it is a long time. And I think from this experience, you can make a difference. So let me focus on the local community. How do you describe the impact and the immediate effects of your work on the local communities?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. How would I describe the impact of our work on the local community? I don't always get the opportunity to go out and see what is happening at the community level. I spend a lot of my time here in our country office, managing relationships at the national level, managing relationships with our donors, managing relationships with our headquarters as well. So I don't get out to the field nearly as much as I would like to. But I know, if I look at the programming that we've been doing in Khartoum, for example, over the last year and a bit, we've been working with local partners to provide some basic food assistance to vulnerable households inside Omdurman locality. And for many, that has been, it's a lifeline. It allows the family to survive. It keeps hunger at bay. And so sometimes we're saving lives, right? I mean, we'll see that certainly with the health facility. We see it with a health facility that in Hamish Kareb, and you know, there was no functioning facility there. The nearest would have been Kassala, I think, which is about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive. That's a long way to go when you need assistance now. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a daily process of addressing immediate need and hopefully saving lives.
One of the big things I notice here and anywhere when we provide this relief is when people are in these really tough and challenging situations, they feel alone, they feel forgotten, they feel hopeless. And I think one of the maybe less easy to see aspects of a team like ours coming in is that people can see and remember that they're not forgotten and they're not alone, and it gives them hope in a very tough situation. There's practical need that needs to be met immediately, and that is our focus. But on a less tangible aspect, it's very important to us that we treat people with compassion and we give them dignity, and we remind them that God has not forgotten them. And in fact, we feel that is our calling, is to come in and show God's love to people and offer them, yes, physical support, but also the support of knowing that they are loved and seen and not forgotten.
I think now you are preparing to go to Gaddarif for the field hospital. And as you know, Gaddarif city, after broke out of war, it becomes a highly populated city. So why you focus on Gaddarif city?
I think that goes back to relationship and partnership. And you know a little bit more about the hospital itself, but the original motivation for going to Gaddarif city was that it was an invitation and a request from the Ministry of Health. And as an international organization, we like to be as responsive as we can to the needs of the host government. So that would be the main reason, I think, for us having chosen Gaddarif city.
Do you plan to go to other cities?
So we're open to continuing to have that discussion. You know, I mean, at this time, Gaddarif, there's so many IDPs coming into there. It's so close to where some of the fighting is occurring, and as we've had those conversations, that's where they've requested us to go. We've seen a lot of need at the hospital there. as we continue to have discussions. If there is a request for us to bring in another team, we are really very open to that discussion and certainly have some ability to do so.
And I would add to that. I mean, we do have, so with the recent cholera outbreak, for example, I mean, we have supported other health facilities. We supported the teaching hospital in Kassala right now with their cholera response. Last year we supported Tokar here in Red Sea State with their cholera response. Last year we worked a little bit with one of the hospitals here as well on the response for the heat stroke in the middle of the summer last year. So we do work. Those are small, short-term programs because that's what the funding was for. But occasionally we do branch out and support other facilities, just not at the same scale as we are in Hamashkreb or we will in Gedaref.
So what is the priority for the time being? To escalate humanitarian assistance or to cease hostilities?
I think the two have to both be a priority. They have to come together. We need, as humanitarians, we need access, and so that requires a certain degree of security and an ability to reach the locations where people are in need. But we can't wait, right? People are suffering now, and so that's why our team is here. Although hostilities continue, we are going to go as close as we can. We're going to go to Gedaref, and we're going to provide this emergency field hospital because people are suffering now, and so we are committed to aiding those who are suffering and hurting and providing that care as things continue.
Arin, what do you think?
Peace is important. Sudan can't continue unless there's peace, right? So but that's also something that we can't control, like me personally or us as Samaritan's Purse. That's not our expertise, and it's not necessarily our responsibility. I also recognize that I'm not Sudanese. I'm a bit of an outsider, and so it's an outsider's perspective. But the humanitarian access and the humanitarian programming is critical for the, what are the stats now? 11 million internally displaced people inside Sudan. Is it 25 million households requiring some sort of food assistance? I saw another report that came out recently from another organization working here in Sudan talking about the lack of resources not only for IDPs but for host communities and host families as well, and people in Sudan are struggling. And you see it, everybody sees it. I mean, there's no denying that there are real challenges in Sudan right now. And so for me, the two peace and humanitarian go hand in hand, but there are things that we can do as an organization, which is the humanitarian side. And there's the peace is the responsibility, I would say, of the Sudanese community and the Sudanese government as well, and that's not necessarily our area of work and focus right now in Sudan.
Shannon, some people argue of providing aid through land, air and sea crossings. Others sees that it is necessary to confront United Arab Emirates to prevent it from supplying weapons and logistical support to rapid support forces.
Yeah, these are hard and complex issues, and certainly outside of my area of expertise. I'm a health specialist, and so, gosh, I don't think I can really, speak with a great deal of expertise to that. I know as far as, logistical support, we're very thankful to the Minister of Health, to Dr. Haitham, to the Deputy Minister of Health, and to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the way they have opened the doors for us to come in through Port Sudan. It was just really amazing to see how things went over the last week with the provision of the visas that were needed and allowing our plane to come in with, we brought in about 75,000 pounds of materials for aid on our plane to set up this field hospital, and they coordinated that so well. So what I see out of that is, things can be made possible and things can be made feasible when we collaborate together to bring these logistics together to get aid in through these mechanisms.
So Harin, as you know, rapid support forces inflicted a significant damage on hospitals and healthcare infrastructure. So what role can you play to rebuilding and reconstructing the medical services?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a harsh year and a half in Sudan. There's been significant amounts of destruction throughout the country. As an organization, we are unfortunately tied to the funding that we have, and for now, I would say that our response is to support the capacity, the Ministry of Health, to help build their capacity in Gadaref, in other locations if asked, as Shannon has mentioned. Again, I think it also comes down to access and what you can access. I mean, large parts of the country, for us as an organization, we're not able to get into and to do that kind of work. So I think a lot of the rehabilitation and repair of infrastructure probably would need to be done post-conflict and not in the middle of.
As a disaster relief organization, we're really focused on that acute moment of urgent need. And so the things that we bring in, like with our emergency field hospital, they're designed to be able to be moved quickly, to be set up in challenging environments, such as what we may face in areas of Sudan. But one of the things we always do is we leave behind what we bring. So the operating room equipment, the hospital tents, even all of these things, we will leave them behind with the Ministry of Health, with a local hospital. We'll teach them and provide them capacity building on how to use that. And so it's one way that we do always leave some capacity building, some infrastructure and capacity that was not there when we came.
This is belonging your organization. But if we would like to speak about the international organizations, so what role can you play to encourage and motivate the international organizations to come here to Sudan and to join these ongoing activities?
I think a lot of the international community is very committed. Sudan is on the hearts and minds of many. We do, as an organization, participate in the global health clusters and all of the meetings that come together. And I think these conversations are ongoing. For our part, we'll certainly continue to share what we're doing in Sudan, strategies that have worked. And we do pray for continued increased awareness and increased funding from donors so that the humanitarian work can continue to increase. And we do continue to be a part of those bodies and those conversations. But I do believe that there are a lot of organizations in the international community who are working very hard to achieve access despite the challenges and achieve funding. I think that's a challenge for many as well.
Do you agree with Shannon?
Yes. As an organization, Samaritan's Purse has been incredibly blessed with resources. And what we saw on Thursday with the DC-8 landing, the offloading of the field hospital, that is something that very few organizations, I think, are able to offer. And so, like Shannon said, I think there are many organizations that are here of varying size and capacity. And I do believe it's been a challenging environment for all of us. This conflict has caught all of us off guard, and I can only speak for Samaritan's Purse, but we've had to reconsider and reevaluate who we are, how we operate, where we operate, what risks we're willing to absorb, and so, and we face challenges as well, and we're fortunate to be in a place right now where we've been able to work through some of those challenges, and I think if I were to suggest anything at all, it would be for peers would be to keep pressing on, and build those relationships. It's relationships that open the doors and make the headway, or for us.
As you know, there is a systematic targeting by rapid support force to destroy and loot medicine warehouses, pharmacies, and medical equipment. So what can be done by your organization to make all these facilities available?
I mean, for our part, when we come, we always bring supplies with us, as we just did. Like I said, we brought 75,000 pounds of supplies, which includes the pharmaceuticals and the medical supplies that will support our efforts at the field hospital. And as Darren has talked about, we have a lot of ongoing work in different areas of the country where we have worked hard to work through some of the challenges that have occurred with getting supplies in the current context. And we will continue to do so if the Ministry of Health brings us needs that we can help support with working with local hospitals. We will always continue to have that conversation. I think there are many other bodies as well that look to that, such as the WHO. But like I said, when we leave the field hospital, we will leave any supplies that we can behind and resource the hospital in Gadaref that we are working and partnering with.
Back to an international society or community. We hear something about the international community now is silent towards towards the war here in Sudan. So what should be done by the international community?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of you look at what's happening in the world right now. You have the conflict in Ukraine. You've got the war in Gaza. You've got the new war in Syria, and there are a lot of events that grab the spotlight, and in the midst of that, this war in Sudan as well. I would say, looking at the attention that's being paid to the conflict here, I would say actually more attention is being paid now than there was 6 months or a year ago. And so it's unfortunate that it's taken a long time for people to start recognizing what is happening here in Sudan. But I would say that slowly there is starting to be a bit of a change. I know that there has been concerns over the resources and the amount of money that's available to run the humanitarian operations in Sudan. I know there was the Paris conference earlier this year, I think it was, or last year, where money was pledged to the response here in Sudan. And we're starting to see, I think, more attention being paid to what's happening here, more resources becoming available. But the reality is, we are one conflict of many right now in globally, and so the world's attention is divided. And if we were sitting in Ukraine and all the attention was being focused on Sudan, we might be saying the same thing. Why is the world not paying attention to us? And so, it's divided attention. But I think that we're starting to see more attention paid here to this country.
There is absolutely a need for more attention to be brought to a crisis of this magnitude, as Darren gave some of the numbers earlier. I think that there are many people who are very aware. Just to speak evidence to that, one of the reasons Samaritan's Purse is able to do the work the way we have, Darren mentioned the resources such as bringing in the plane or bringing in the field hospital, is there is a body of donors in America, but across the world. We don't have to seek funding from outside sources because we have individual donors who know things like what is happening in Sudan, and they give their money to us and say go and help. And so I just want the people of Sudan to know that there are many people who are aware. They're giving of their own resources, they're giving of their own money, and they're praying for peace, they're praying for an end to the suffering, and they are with the people of Sudan in spirit, but also in the giving of their money. And that's why we are able, is because many Christians across America have given to Samaritan's Purse and said, please, go provide aid in Sudan. So there needs to be more awareness, but there certainly is awareness and many people who are committed to making a change.
Do you think that the international community actually is silent, and why it draws no attention to the war in Sudan?
Sorry, when you refer to international community, are you referring to humanitarian community? Are you referring to media, or are you just generally referring to international community, just like a general body? I mean, if we're talking about on the humanitarian side, government side, I think there is more attention being paid. Starting to see, more government agencies starting to come back and pay attention to Sudan. Maybe not as fast as we would like it to happen. Maybe not as much funding as we would like to see. But yeah, I would say that there is international community is starting to pay more attention to Sudan.
As you know, in Genena city, the capital of the West State in Darfur, there is a genocide and an ethnic cleansing. So do you have any role to play there, maybe through humanitarian aid or others?
So we do not have any programming in Western Sudan. We don't have programming in the Darfurs. Many years ago we did. Decision was made at that time, long before I joined Samaritan's Purse, to stop programming in the Darfurs, and we have not gone back. And I think in this current time, and when I look at our portfolio and our funding base, our intention for now is to continue with what we are doing, but to do it well. And so as the country director, if I was going to look at expanding or increasing our work, I would look at what we're currently doing and seeing how I can make it better and how I can make it reach more people here in Eastern Sudan.
Shannon, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a tragedy, and certainly we continue to offer prayers for this area and pray for this to end. Darren really, as the country director, has, I think the insight he gave into our strategy as an organization is excellent. But I mean, as I've said many times, as an organization, we're always looking for the next opportunity to help people suffering. So I can't say never, but right now our current area of focus are the places we've already mentioned, and especially our current effort to get our disaster relief team into Gadaref.
Do you have any plans to go back to Darfur, especially Geneva, where we speak about the genocide?
Honestly, at this point, well, like Shannon said, if opportunity presented itself, it would be something that we would consider. But at this point, our focus is here in the east,
Yeah.
Khartoum and in eastern Sudan.
Yeah. So what about your future plans,
Yeah.
globally and in Sudan in particular?
Sure. Our plan for right now, we are really focusing all of our resources and efforts into getting our field hospital up and running in Gedaref. So we have a forward team of 8 people there. We have a surgeon, we have an anesthetist, we have some highly skilled nurses. They're looking at the needs, and we're seeing a lot of women and children who are vulnerable and suffering. And so we are working this week to move our field hospital to Gedaref, to move the rest of our team. We'll have 20 more members. Pediatric specialists, emergency specialists that will all be moving to the area so that we can get the field hospital up and running and serving people as quickly as possible. We want to work together with the local health system there to serve people in need and to meet suffering people wherever we can.
Parin, your future plans?
Here in Sudan or globally?
In Sudan in
Sudan,
particular,
in
yeah.
particular. Yeah, I would like to see our programming in Khartoum grow. I think there's significant need there, and I think we have, with the team that I currently have there working there, I think there's opportunity to expand what we're doing. I love to see that happen. I'm excited about what we're going to do in Gedaref. I'm excited about the field hospital, but also about the relationships and the capacity that will be built. I'm a firm believer in that when I leave, things should be better than when I came, right? And sometimes it's on a programmatic level. So what we're doing and building the capacity of health workers and the health programming in Gedaref is important. It's looking at our team, or the team that I have, and how can I make them better at what they do. So yeah, I think I would also like to see our programming here in Eastern Sudan expand a little bit. But again, it's the quality that I'm most concerned about. If we can't do what we're doing well, then personally I have to sit back and ask the question, why are we doing it? So for me, that's my first focus, to ensure that our current portfolio is done well. Gedaref is an exciting new opportunity, and we will see what other opportunities present themselves in 2025.
If you would like to compare your activities here in Sudan with the other African countries, is there any relations maybe, or you have to maximize your efforts in the context of the war?
Yeah, we have similar health programming in several countries, but each context is so unique. The needs that are occurring are so unique. And I think you just said it here in the context of the war. At this moment, our disaster relief team, which is a huge resource at Samaritan's Purse, is focusing their efforts, their resources on getting this team in and getting this team functioning and meeting the needs of those affected by the war in Sudan. And so right now, we definitely have a huge priority focus here.
You said here in Sudan we have many international organizations. So are you working separately, or you have some kind of cooperation with these international organizations in Sudan?
Yeah, we work alongside other organizations, and so there's lots of coordination that takes place. In an environment where there is a limited resources, you need to make sure that the organizations that are working are not duplicating the response that they're providing. And so with our work here in Arbat with the flood response, I know that my team was meeting last week with a couple other organizations to review what we were doing, to review what they were doing, to see if there was overlap, and to ensure that there weren't gaps. So that's just one small example. But yes, definitely, we are coordinating with, we are parts of the cluster meetings that take place through the UN system to ensure that what we do is addressing a real need and not doing something where someone is already doing that programming.
Yes, okay, dear viewers, now we have come to the end of this interview. I would like to thank our guests in studio, Shannon and Harin, and thank you for you all, dear viewers. Until we meet again, please accept our regards. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Very much. Okay. Thank you, Harin.
Thank you.
Okay.